Hello, 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 everybody. This is finally the first live that I'm doing, and nobody's on here yet. You know what? That's okay. We have got an hour or more, however that's gonna be. So I'm just gonna like turn on my computer and get going. Because you know what? Oh, hey. I knew you were gonna be the first one. For sure. I'm glad that you are here for real because I'm like, you know what? I actually need to do a live for once. So so yeah, I just like got home and I went to church and it was pretty good, but I'm ready to like actually get my mind focused on this now because there is so much to talk about. And it's like negative, it is literally negative, like probably 20 below zero. And so I think that's like 20 or 40 below Celsius actually. So that's crazy. I don't even get it. Like why? Is it that cold in Canada? Like I'm sure it is. Well, I'm just gonna wait for more people. Because I'm like, I don't want to spill all the beans if there's only one person on here, you know? Honestly, like cords can go away, like forever. So that's good. You know, what are you really supposed to do on live other than talk and like, hang out? It's like kind of awkward. That's why I don't do it normally. Because it's like, it's like you're talking to people and they're there, but they're like not there. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, Winnipeg, I'm sure. It's gonna be minus 57, like wind chill. And I'm sure you probably felt that before, so that's crazy. Like, I don't even know, and I'm a mailman, so they're gonna like, they never ever let us not deliver the mail, but for once they're going to. If it gets that cold, they actually are like, sure, you don't have to go deliver the mail. Like, I guess we won't make you like freeze to death, like literally. So, yeah, crazy. I'm like kind of nervous. Like that's like I told you that I'm like, I mean, I'm trying to be completely transparent with y'all because we know we're a family here and we know what anxiety is like. That is why we're here, because we experience these things. And so I'm going to admit, like, it's going to take me a minute to get into the groove a little bit more. Well, welcome to the other person that has come on to this live. We've got 2 people. Very good. I wonder why it doesn't show me who it is. Yeah, that's weird. You can even do filters on here. Look at this. Wow. I've never did this before. So feel free to ask me anything you want me to talk about because, like, I think once there's more people, I'm going to go over. I really want to talk, like what Sadia said about. I hope I'm saying your name right, by the way. Let me know if I'm not. About breathing, blinking, and swallowing. That's huge right now. Like that is, I mean, it's not going to be forever. Eventually, it's not going to be an issue for you guys, I promise. And that's the point of being here and everything, because it's so important to actually like see these things in action and ask me questions like while I'm here, because like my videos and stuff are good, but I feel like this subject is so obscure. It's so simple to not get the full point, and the energy I'm trying to get across is sometimes lost in the mix, of making videos. Because it's not, nobody's perfect at communicating. I'm like, if only you guys could just go right into my mind, like if I could just switch places with you really quick, then you'd be like, oh, okay, like I get what you mean. So I'm gonna try to do that because I'm like, it's so hard, literally. So is there anything you guys like want to talk about or see? I mean, the cats are over there. Let's see. Okay, hold on. I'm just looking. For some reason, I didn't see any of these before. Can you talk about the blinking OCD for my friend? Absolutely. Yeah, no, honestly, the blinking, this is some of the hardest stuff to get down because it's like something that you do every day. And it's almost like, you know, there's this really good article that I found that I want to read because this is a subject that I'm still learning about. And so I think like a mutual effort to learn is really important because it's so easy to like think you're communicating effectively, like I said, and you're not. And so it is so important to like actually look into other sources. And so basically, we know that there's nothing wrong with our blinking, right? So we know that there is no issues with our bodily sensations. And we have, you know, everybody is aware of them sometimes, right? So we got to go back to the basics when it comes to these OCD manifestations that really can plague us because it's so easy to like think that you're doing it right, like you are practicing what I'm saying and whatnot in a way that's like effective, but it's really not, like you're not really getting the full picture, and you can start to make it way more complicated than it needs to be. Because if you really think about these things, it starts out so simple and then it gets more complicated. Like we add on issues, we add on like all of these like worries and all of these what if situations, and we attach fear. So that is like the number one thing. So if we boil everything down back to how it was before we had all this, that is where we're going to find more of the solution. So basically, when you have, I'm just going to like make sure that I'm seeing all these chats. It's like not letting me for some reason. Okay, not that. Okay, cool. I'm just looking at this because it's like keeps showing me all the filters and I just want to choose one. Okay. I'm just making sure I can see our messages. Okay, yes. So I was reading today about why we fear these things, because it's like we know that we blink, we know we breathe, but we weren't before this. It's like there's like a window that was always there, of a window of mindfulness, which is originally good. It's originally one that we're supposed to find and that we're supposed to actually use as a way that to help us. So mindfulness. But with this disorder, we can end up seeing this new window. Then the window is awareness of ourself, awareness of what we're doing. That is what mindfulness is supposed to do for us. But when we're in this, when we have an OCD brain, that window we look at in a way that is twisted and obscured and just not, and attaches fear when there should be no fear. And so it just is really easy to not have like a good sense of how we're supposed to feel when we view ourselves under mindfulness or doing these mindfulness activities. And the reason I'm talking about this is because that is kind of how this disorder begins. Mindfulness sometimes tells us to focus on your breathing, like just meditate and focus on your breathing. Like, haven't you heard, like, you know, a lot of people have heard that before, I'm sure. But what happens is essentially our mindfulness gets hijacked when we have this disorder. And so we have to be able to re-harness this mindfulness in general, because we end up attaching things to these mindfulness practices that can actually perpetuate and cause like the whole disorder. And it's just not gonna help at all. Like that is the problem itself. And so I'm just gonna like look over this really quick because it's super helpful. So this subtype of OCD is an obsession with mindfulness. It's basically an obsession with being in the present moment. And so this is something I kind of found out today. is that it's not only at the present moment, but more like being in us, like being in the present moment of what our body is doing, right? So if we think about our obsession with breathing and blinking, it is always going to be in the present moment, because we're not thinking about whether or not we breathed 2 days ago. We're not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. We're thinking about right now. So a person dealing with this type of OCD is ultimately pulled from a moment that's supposed to be good, that's supposed to be like, wow, you know, everyone thinks of their breathing and their blinking and their swallowing at some point. It's normal to, it really is. But the problem is we're ultimately pulled from that moment to the desire to resist the thoughts and observations. So I believe my printer like totally messed these up. But yeah, so we end up becoming fearful. We end up starting to resist that mindfulness because we don't want it anymore. Like we're just like, no, I don't need to be thinking about my breathing and blinking. And we end up starting to really hone in on those what if crazy scenarios. And so that is the, okay, I'm just making sure there's no other questions, but that is the biggest problem, is resistance. And so take, for example, the preoccupation with perfectly normal involuntary body phenomenon, like eye floaters or whatever. So the average person, an eye floater may cause a passing thought, and that's what we want. That's the goal, is to just observe something and let it, and not attach that irrationality to it, and not keep worrying about things that are not going to happen. And the fact that we worry about them makes them happen, pretty much, and not only, or pretty much only with this type of OCD. And so instead of doing that, we have to learn to accept. We have got to reach that point of acceptance, and even if it feels weird. So I'm just going to finish reading this really quick. So in the hyper-aware OCD brain, the eye floater, or whatever it is that bothers you, is, let's see, becomes a somatic obsession. It's like noticed and noticed again, giving rise to the thoughts of, why do I keep noticing this? So why do, you know, like I just said, no one consciously thinks about this. Why do I? And the why I can't stop. But when you do, that becomes an issue. Somatic obsessions, or sensory-motor, like, you know, there's so many different terms. Hyper body awareness, that's my favorite one. Are intrusive thoughts that call attention to processes like awareness, breathing, blinking, swallowing, etc., etc., etc. It doesn't matter what it is, it falls under the same boat. So surprisingly, though, a huge solution is mindfulness is one. It says mindfulness here, and this is a really, really good article, and I will post the link to it when I'm done here. Mindfulness is one of the most powerful skills that can be used to alleviate these distressing symptoms. So it's our brain in this state that hijacks the mindfulness, turning it into something that's compulsively replaying a thought about breathing awareness or whatever it may be. So the key here, and I've said this in the past, is actually gaining the ability and just practicing the ability of doing a body scan, practicing observing these awarenesses with no resistance, and truly reaching that point where we're like, okay, like, it's not so bad. And if you can truly eliminate that what if I don't stop mentality, that is literally that's the culprit. I'm telling you, that is the culprit. Because of today, like when I was talking with Sadia or anybody, I sometimes end up like catching on to the OCD, like it'll trigger me. And I'm just like, okay, Michael, you know what to do. You know what is going on. And so I like to give myself like I like to start out with, when I'm struck with symptoms, I like to start off by clearing the slate and saying, no, all these other worries, like those rushes of anxiety that come up, I'm pretty sure we all know how that feels, like that sudden onset of anxiety, like, oh no, it's starting, no, that we've got to learn to not feed into that so much. And we do really easily. And like, it's just so simple to like fall off of all this and to get back into how we were And so, but with practice makes perfect. And every day, pick ourselves back up. Every day, we're moving towards learning to do these things automatically instead of having to practice them and like force it, basically. So that's on the flip side. We're doing what we don't want to do automatically, and where we're doing what we do want to do, you know, with having to really try to do that. So we're trying to reverse that altogether. Let's see. I'm just checking because it's not like popping up for me. How long do I, let's see, hold on. Man, I don't know if I'd want to eat that spaghetti. I like dogs too much. So, I'm just like referencing this article because it's really good. Like, honestly, I know a lot about this, but I don't know as much as I do with pure OCD. So that's like, they're very, very closely related, but it's like, I'm still learning about this a lot. And honestly, you guys are teaching me too. So that's super cool. So the greatest exposure to this type of obsession is acceptance. And I've said this before. It's as if there is an OCD, as if this OCD has opened a window to view where you were previously unaware there was a window to view from. It's an analogy. So by resisting what you see in the window, the existence of the window itself, you expose yourself to more anxiety. It is the resistance, not the window, that causes the anxiety. That is huge. That like mind blew today, because that's what I've been trying to say is that there's this window. We can view our breathing and blinking. Yes, we can. We're always going to be able to, but we can't continue to attach this crazy fear to it. Like, we can't fear or resist the window. And as much as I want to sometimes during the day, like when I'm working, because I'm a mailman, you know, I'm alone out there. And so sometimes I will have moments where I'll be like half an hour, I'll be like consistently focusing on my breathing. And I'm like, a part of me wants to start to force that away and just to really think about something else. But I know that my mind is always going to trail back to that. You know, it always does. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows that as many times as you try, if you force it or whatever, these comments. But to be honest, it is really super like important to realize that we do these things majorly. We really are kind of the causer of these things, and that is not something to fear. It's something to wake up to and to realize, like, if I want to get better, I've got to stop causing this. So that is something I really want you guys to focus on, is that window, and to not fear this window, because everybody has the ability to think of whatever they want at any given time, to imagine whatever they want, and we can't grapple with that. We've got to own it and be like, you know what? The fact that I can even breathe, the fact that I can even meditate and to think like this at all is a blessing, and it shouldn't cause me so much distress to just exist and just to be who I am and to have this window of awareness and mindfulness. We got to be able to view it with positivity. That's why in some of my videos I've said to love the thoughts and to come at it with love instead of fear. Let's see. I'm just reading it because there's been a bunch of weird comments. Okay, so I'm kind of a slow reader. I really admit that. You know, and that is honestly, it's so normal to be like, this makes me feel like I really feel plagued by this, and like, why me, this why me mentality, or whatever that may be. So I think the number one thing right there to realize is that there are people out there who really, really are going through things much, much worse than us, so much worse, who are literally just happy to have one day free from pain, or one day of freedom at all, like physically, like even worse, you know, I don't know. But there's to always have gain and to maintain perspective is how I deal with that. And also realize that obsessions, these thoughts, they don't define us and who we are. They do not define us. And so that's kind of how I approach this, is that I accept what I have. Like, I accept that this is part of me, but it's not the way it's going to stay forever. It's not defining me black and white to the core. Like, there is so much more to find out about who I am and who we are and who and what is causing this within us. And really, it's a very beautiful thing. It really is, because it's simply taking the parts of ourselves that are lost right now, that are like mixed up with other, that are just not aligned correctly, for lack of better terms, and to realign them. And it's like, there's no reason to feel bad. There's no reason to feel down and to play pity. Self-loathing is not going to help you at all. That is not what helped me. I remember my worst days were when I self-loathed. My best days is when I chose to uplift myself and say, no matter how uncomfortable I am, no matter how shitty this is, I know that I'm going to be better, and there are things to be grateful for and to enjoy. You can still enjoy your life with this. You really can. It's just harder. It's just through a lens, It's kind of like with a veil that you have to squint really hard through. But keep squinting, because eventually you won't have to, Oh, man, there's so many things to talk about. I'm sorry if I'm missing any of your questions. Like, I really don't understand the way this thing works sometimes. It's like, will not stop showing me my filter options. Like, I kind of like this one. Cool. So, yeah, so this is a huge thing. So by the very nature of the mechanisms of somatic OCD, so this subtype can be terrifying. The sensation of hearing rather than thinking your thoughts, which makes you think that you're going crazy, but really, that couldn't be further from the truth. Somatic obsessional thoughts just seem louder. They just seem louder. These OCD thoughts we're just more aware of the thought. It's not a voice. You're not crazy. We're not any of that. And it's just so easy to have this little voice of deception in our head carry us off into doomland. No, I'm done for. That's a bunch of bull. And I'm never going to stop saying that, because there is dark and light in the world, and there's dark and light in us. But really, there is light in us. And that is always going to be the case. But with the way we are, the way that humans are built, that light can seem dark, but it's not. It just can seem convoluted. So this is huge. I'm just gonna plug my computer. I've been trying to do this forever, I feel like. I'm not looking forward to winter. It's like January, and it doesn't get to be done being wintertime here until April. That's too long. Is Anna here? Because didn't you say you lived in San Francisco? Or something? Yeah, and see, okay, so derealization. That is something that I'm still really new on. It's not something that I have felt much or gone through. However, I have done that. I have had that happen to me one time, and it's super bizarre. And I was actually going to make a video about this eventually, and I have lots of things coming. I have so many ideas, and I'm just waiting and praying for more time to open up for me to really make good videos talking about all these subjects. But and I'll get back to this really in a second, but so derealization, I have felt one time, and it really is super, super, super weird, and I don't wish it upon anybody. I'm just gonna make sure. So I don't know for sure. And I would like to hear you guys' account on this, what exactly you've gone through with derealization, because there's so many we're all so different. I can say that my experience was similar, but it's not going to be the same, or it could be totally different. We're all so different, and that's why it's important to understand that there is a unique path to recovering from all this for everybody, but it's not in a different ballpark. It's in the ballpark of what I'm talking about, but it's just curtailed for you. And the only one that can do that is you. But I want to help you to try to have the list to choose from, because you can't curtail anything without any skills or without anything to really know that these are solid tools to practice on, work with, and believe in. And so without that, there's like, I don't know, it's going to be a lot harder to create that that your plan to overcome these things. And so it's really unique to you, just like nobody's the same. None of this is going to be exactly the same for everybody. It's going to be a little bit different. And so that's not something to worry about either. That I think it's really easy when you have this disorder to like be like one thing can set you off and be like, what? No, like it's not going to work for me. It's not what I meant. So it's definitely going to, it's just going to be slightly, it's going to need to be tweaked and personalized to you. So when I'm just going to describe really quick my derealization experience. Quick. So back when I was going through this, I think it was a year after I first started noticing I had any of this OCD. And so it was definitely a weird time for me. I tried my best to be normal, and I knew something was wrong. I really just knew that I was really there was something was up. And I kept feeling good, and then I would go back to where I was, and I didn't have any support. I didn't really feel that upliftment that in myself yet, where I knew I was at that level of recovery. So I was like driving home from a cabin. So it was like an hour away from my house. And so I was driving back, and I stayed the night, and it was just like a nice summer day, and I was alone in the car driving by myself. And so that's always kind of what those moments are, what would trigger me. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's honestly, I've had those too, but I don't dream that much anymore. I don't, but that's mostly because of my sleep, like quality. But yeah, that's definitely something to talk about too, major. So I basically was getting home. I was like coming home from the cabin, and I just had a moment where I had anxiety. So derealization kind of starts when for me, it started when I had a rush of anxiety, and then I tried to do what I could do to get it to go away. And then all of a sudden I just felt completely numb. I just felt out of my body. I did not know where I was going. And I knew, and it's so strange because you know where you're going, you know where you are, you know who you are, but everything is like, it's like you turn the saturation down to where there's hardly any color left, and you're just like, what is real and what is not real right now? Like, I remember getting to my house, and it felt so foreign, and I have always lived here. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I literally went into my room and like just went to bed. Like, I was just like, I need to sleep. I need to get out. Like, I need to get the heck out of this like mindset right now. What's going on? Hi, Anna. I just wanted to say that I'm glad you're here. And I was like wondering, who was on here, because it does not tell me the names of anybody. Instagram Live I think is better than this, to be honest, because it doesn't tell you anybody's name except in the comments. That's okay. So derealization, you feel like you are dead inside. Yes, that's how it felt. And I remember like being so, like I felt like I was on autopilot, like I was alive, but nothing around me it was not depression either, because it wasn't like I was like depressed where everything just is like you don't have interest in anything. It was like I knew exactly what was going on and where I was, but it just did not feel the same at all. There was nothing in me that reacted to what I was looking at. It was like there was this disconnect. Whatever was in here was dead. Like it just was, there was nothing that really kept me like feeling like the essence of life was so strange. And it was like the worst feeling I've ever felt. It was probably worse than, similar to like the worst anxiety that I ever gone through when I was going through my PRO. So that is a huge thing that I want to talk about in the future, because it is like crazy, um, for real. And it's the way to get out of, I don't really know, to be honest. I don't know the what you can do at the moment to get yourself out of that. But what I did personally is what I went and had I immediately started to engage. I was like, I must get out of this. And like, I can't just stay in my head. At that point, I went and talked to my dad. I went and talked to my mom. I just started to like force myself a little bit. And I know this is the only time I would say forcing yourself to do something is good, but otherwise, no. Is I literally was like, 'cause I didn't really want to talk to anybody in that state, but I was like, I need to have a conversation. I need to like engage myself and feel what is real here and know that this is what I know and love, and this is my reality, and that whatever anxiety or mind phenomena that's happening right now is not going to take that away from me. I literally was like, no, like I just stepped my foot down and was like, I know that this is weird, and I never felt it again after that. I never had derealization after that, because I think like it's more of like an energy in you. For me, this is just kind of like what I feel, but like it's almost like an energy that you can't let die, and it will continue to grow as long as you choose it to. And we always do we always do, but with anxiety, with other mental health problems, it can feel like we're not choosing that, and like we're detaching ourselves. Yeah, and you know what, that's crazy, because sometimes antidepressants can cause depression. Okay, that's super interesting. Never really. So I've used emotion freedom technique, tapping. I've never heard of that. That's so cool. You can go elaborate on that more if you want. I'm just like keep clicking the filters. And that is like that sounds really interesting, because like I'm kind of wanting to like have more mindfulness activities that are more physical and less cognitive, because it's so hard to grasp a cognitive ritual, for one. So to recognize if you're going through if you're doing a ritual internally, and then also it's difficult to grasp a cognitive behavioral therapy type of solution. So like unfortunately a lot of this is the same. A lot of this is just that it has to be done within us only, and that's why it's so hard to reach that point of recovery. And let's see, yeah, acupuncture, similar to acupuncture, which you do with your fingertips. Nice. That is so cool. Awesome. Thanks for commenting that, because I really am a fan of acupuncture. Like, I've got I had it a couple times when I worked at an office a couple of years ago that was super good on wellness, and they had like the huge wellness like program, and we would literally get free acupuncture, and so it works. Let me tell you, I think it is very, very good to help bring you down from a state of anxiety into, and to really feel whole. Like, I think it really helps you to release things that are just extremely stubborn in you, that we can't release any other way. Sometimes it really got to be from those pressure points, I guess. And so just like seeing a chiropractor, if you don't have anything, you might not think you're out of alignment, but everybody is a little bit. So I know I could use a chiropractor. But anyways, so I'm going to finish what I was saying about somatic OCD, and with breathing and blinking and all of these things that are really a big problem that can become just ridiculously distressing. So one of the most, and this, I haven't really thought about this before, and such a good article, like one of the most effective methods for harnessing mindfulness and not having that mindfulness go astray and turn into what it's not meant to be. Because like I said, improper use of mindfulness and improperly not even knowing, for one, you probably don't even know that you're doing that at first. Like when you first get this disorder, is that you're actually doing a form of mindfulness on yourself. But if you don't know that, it's so simple to be like, have it go wrong, turn into an obsession, and we start to attach fears and blah, blah, blah. So no. But yes to this. So one of the most effective methods for harnessing mindfulness and relieving the distressing symptoms of hyper-awareness OCD is meditation. And I never really thought about that. So meditation, even if you have an obsession with the awareness of your breaths, the mental exercise you get from practicing meditation will eventually allow you to detach yourself from the act of thinking about your breathing in order to refocus attention to the on the moment truly. And so let's see, blah, 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 blah. So it can be helpful to be mindful of attending. So whether or not we're attending or over attending to the present moment, and whether or not we are acknowledging that your mind has taken the act of meditation and shifted it to a performance review. Though meditation, you practice not minding the thoughts that come to you. So by disengaging from the implications of the thought, the idea that you shouldn't be thinking it, you can come to see it for what it is, a passing moment or observation that means nothing once the meaning you give it is taken away. And so this is a really big thing. Like, this is really it. And so it's like, how do we get there though? And this, I wish it would have gone more into how to disengage. And so that is, okay, I'm a little all over the map. How do we disengage, and how do we even meditate to have this help us? Because if we meditate, we can like sit there and like I just said, like think about our breathing, and think about, and that would then lead us to being like, well, it's not working. I'm just sitting here thinking about my breathing. Like I can already see how I would be, like this isn't working. That's kind of like, it's easy to be like just not wanting to give it a chance and being like so quick to be like it's not going to work. And so that is definitely a mindset to avoid for sure. And so the biggest thing, like there's so many big things, but a huge thing is to focus and to really meditate on the fact that like instead of it being like a meditation that you go into just trying to focus on like one thing, like your breathing, go into it with the mindset of meditating on the fact that this window that we have, that our ability to view our breathing and blinking, our ability to be aware of these things is actually a gift, and it doesn't have to be a plague. It does not need to be that. And so focusing on detaching and feeling like those fears drifting away, and feeling and focusing and meditating on the fact that it can feel good to focus on your blinking. It can feel good to focus on your breathing. And we have got to be able to like truly like meditate on that for a given amount of time, and or to really just to focus on this, because it's like, for me, that's what I had to do. It took me almost years, not years, but it took me probably at least a couple months to really believe in this, and to believe myself that to believe the fact that I can view my breathing and blinking pleasurably, and even my swallowing, and to detach myself from the fears that I try to envelop. Like you end up enveloping, and you end up like really making yourself believe that. And it's like that, it's so simple and quick for us to do that because of human nature. And I always talk about the fight or flight response, and that is our primary drive, because evolution standpoint, that is what really like brought us, that was the huge survival instinct of the past that humans at a different time apparently had to use all the time. And so that's not really left us. Some people have it under control completely, people without anxiety, people who have been born like gifted with their fight or flight response being completely under wraps and only ever going off if it really needs to. But with us, it goes off all the time. It really is. And so I'm just gonna look one more time on here. Okay. Okay. Feel like I'm a better person. Yeah, I think I know what you mean by this for sure. You are. We are. This stuff makes us stronger. It really does. I'm telling you, there is not a reason to be like, I'm gonna die from this, and I'm gonna be a weak, insignificant person from this. No, that is so wrong, and you are right about that. It does make you a better person because it really brings us out of like, because before this we might have thought that we were all hunky-dory, that we were all like we were set, we were good, but I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe in God. I believe that there are sufferings that we go through to help us to grow and just push us back on your path. You're welcome. Absolutely, you're so welcome. Like, actually, you can thank Sadia for helping me be here in doing this. She motivated me to just go for this and to not overthink it, because I've never done a live before. It's kind of, who has done a live before? I don't know, not me, but I have now. So that's cool. I love it. And I just want you guys to feel the way I do with it. I went through all of this and I felt so crappy for so long. And I look back and I'm just like, man, if only I knew then. And I'm like, I can't imagine being like that any longer. I can't let anyone else be like that for any longer than they need to. Because I believe that, I really, like you said, it really makes you more compassionate and stronger and aware of your mind. Once you're to the point where these things don't bother you anymore, you will have gone to every edge of your mind, like all four corners of your mind, and you know what's there and you know what it's going to try to do. And it's like, it does not scare you anymore. It doesn't trick you anymore. It's not like, like, you're not like succumbed to it. You're not able to be like, oh no, this big bad bully's here, I better run away. No, you look that in the face and you're like, this is me, and so I'm going to take this part of myself and choose to love it, and I'm going to own it. I'm not going to like let this run out of control again, ever. And so that's kind of like what it feels like. I'm just looking at the comment. Have you ever experienced existential OCD? I'm wondering if this might be a form of somatic OCD. I'm concerned with a lot of existential questions, but a lot of them are related to the self. I have experienced a very mild form of it. And so the funny thing about pure O is that I think with this term pure OCD, it can really bring with it somatic, existential, and derealization. I think a lot of it falls under this umbrella of this subset of OCD. Like, I think it really is all in the same basket, and whether or not you experience every one of those is just different with everybody. And I was lucky that I didn't really experience much of all these other more obscure symptoms, but I did a little bit though. Like, even if I think I didn't, I actually did for some time. It wasn't enough of like a significance for me to really like remember it super clearly, but I do remember having these existential thoughts. Like, I do remember, I think mine was when I basically had a moment where I like realized that like we were, yeah, okay, so this is actually super interesting. I think it might be a form of somatic OCD. I think it might entail with that too. I think, like I said, PRO is like the highest level thing. And then I think if you were to find what fell under existential, I think it would be somatic. I remember I like had a moment one day where I was like, oh my God, like I'm made of organs. Like I just had like, I just forgot, I guess, that like I had organs in me. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh wow, like that's so weird. Like what's wrong? Is there anything wrong with, like, I just started to like, and it wasn't like hypochondria. It was like an existential, um, it was like an existential thing. I was like, what? I have organs? No! Like, and then I started to be aware of my heartbeat, and then it really does become somatic. And I didn't have an existential, I never experienced existential when it came to like, am I human or am I, am I a robot or is life the Matrix or not? Everyone's had thoughts like what is life? Existential thoughts are normal, and I think it's good to have an existential conversations, but I don't think obviously an obsession where it's causing you to stress, that is a problem. Well, hello, Kayla. I'm just reading your comment really quick. Hello, Kayla West. I'm glad you're here. And you're welcome, Matthew. I know, it's the struggle's real, girl. I wish that eventually you're going to come out here and be like, hey, I don't have that anymore. So you know what? That's where we're on. That is the boat we are on. And the thing is that it is a daily story. It's a daily journey. It really, really is. And they will end. So I know that it feels like it won't, but there's so much, like there is literally so much freaking hope out there. And it's not out there, it's in you. It is in you. It is with you. And so you just have to, and you will find it. And it's right now we've just got to sort through all of the illusions and the darkness that this disorder tries to cast over our eyes. And it's just not going to happen forever. So did you ever feel like exposure therapy didn't help? There were a few times. So I think that question right there is important to ask yourself. So if exposure therapy isn't working, are we really doing the exposure therapy right? So is our mindset right when we're going into that exposure moment, like when we're letting ourselves be exposed to the thoughts and stuff? Are we going in that with the fear that it's going to somehow get worse if we let ourselves expose to it? So if we attach fear to the very act of exposing, if we attach, like, we're nervous to do that, then it could, hinder that a little bit. I still think it would help. I still think it does help. I think any act of exposure without resistance helps. But if we go into these thoughts still, or go into this exposure still thinking that the thoughts have a life of their own and still thinking that they define us or that there's any sort of truth to it, then I think the exposure therapy will be more difficult, and I think it won't exactly be as effective as fast. But I still think it will work. I think exposure therapy always works. I really, really do. For me, exposure therapy, what it looks like right now for me is when I have like a thought that I don't enjoy and I forget about, like I think I forget about it, and then it comes back like a couple of minutes later. It's so easy for that to happen. And then I know it's there, and there's like an urge to think about it, but then I'm like, I still avoid it. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go talk to somebody, and it's up there, and you're just like thinking about something else, and then you start to think and distract yourself unnaturally. That is a no, no, no. So that is the opposite of doing exposure. But what I do then is I go right back to that spot in my mind. I don't force it back, but I let it come back naturally, and then I let it come exactly for what it is in its ego dystonic form, I like to say it, and which is probably going to be pretty ugly because we're good people and we're beautiful and we have good intents and good heart. So automatically ego dystonic for us is going to look shitty. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be pretty. Because if we were serial killers, if we were crazy ass people in a psych ward, an ego dystonic thought would be like a beautiful walk along, a beautiful moment with your friends and like giving them a hug and like doing something nice for them. That would be their ego dystonic thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, but ours, since we do want those things and since we do those things, those ego dystonic thoughts are going to be like whoa, like not at all, not as what so far from who I am. It is not me. What is going on? Am I nuts? No. And so it is normal. Like it's not normal, but it is normal. You know what I mean? In this disorder, it's going to be normal. So what we've got to do is with that mindset in place. So we've got to watch our mindset we have in place before doing the exposure is what my recommendation would be. And then letting that thought come and feeling that fear. We're gonna feel whatever we feel when that moment occurs in our brain. Or it's going to be unpleasant, and it's not going to be something that we wish to sit in forever. But we have to be there. We got to let those things go. The only way to let a thought go, like, is to let it be. You have to like let it be there. Hey, Ashnell. Yeah, honestly, just tell me how to pronounce your name. I always would say Ashnell, but I honestly don't think that's right. So I'm so happy you're here, dude. I know I've been on for almost an hour, but I'm going to stay on longer, so don't worry. On school. I'm really bad at this, so I will try that. You know, I bet you I'm going to have like Google speak that to me. So, yeah, that'll probably be better. But for now, I like Kumar. Is that how you spell your last name? That's super cool. I like that one. Like Harold and Kumar, right? I don't know. Yeah, we're just talking about everything, really. We're answering some questions and going over somatic OCD and talking about how this concept of viewing our obsessions and viewing this awareness as a window that we didn't know was there. So it's like a metaphor. So viewing this as a window that we didn't know was there, and it's not ever going to go away. So we can't fear the window. We can't wish that, oh, I wish I could just never think of my breathing and swallowing or whatever it is that we obsess about again. We can't think like that because it's never going to be possible. And yeah, I know for sure you can ask anything you want. So it is, hello. Okay. It is really huge to, basically we're talking about acceptance and really focusing on meditating with these truths and focusing on eliminating doubt, because doubt is what is stopping everyone from recovering. Because what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying is true with the fact that if we accept and meditate on these things and really reclaim our mindfulness and allow ourselves to experience these somatic obsessions with acceptance without resisting, and those are two biggest things that you can do. But without the proper mindset and without eliminating your doubt and eliminating the fear and like really breaking the chains of like irrationality and fear that you have to thinking about the awarenesses, like, okay, so I am never, such as I'm not going to stop thinking about this. It's going to ruin my life forever. And I'm just so screwed. Like that is what you have got to work on and eliminate before these things are going to work. And so that is like something I really want to focus on, that prerequisite mindset that's so hard to believe in, because it's so simple to think that all of this is bull and that it's just not going to work for me somehow. And it's just that's simply not the case. It is going to work. It's just like very, very hard. And no one's going to laugh at you here. Nobody is going to laugh at you at all. Caesar, I believe. And it's, you got to talk, and I'm here, that's the whole point of being here, is to talk about these things, because the things that I have gone through will probably seem ridiculous. It probably seem so ridiculous to somebody who doesn't know, but I know I've gone through it, and so we're all in the same boat. So this is a place, I'm trying to like kind of create an outlet here that it's totally open. There's no energy here other than compassion and uplifting and growing and getting through things. So, and then Matthew, you said, can you maybe describe how spirituality has helped you in the process? I'm not at all spiritual, but I have a huge interest in it, and I have faith that, hold on, I have faith that it could help me. It just wouldn't show me that part. It absolutely can. Ooh, you got me started on this. Like I've recently, and this is a video that I really have been meaning to get out, but it's so passionate that I want to make this video like really cinematic, and I want to like actually make it a project and make it like really effective. And yep, and I really, it's helped me so much. Like it really has. And I was never spiritual for so long. And it's almost like because of what I went through, I'm spiritual now. So I'll finish that really quick. But no, that actually I don't have. I found out I've reached a point where if somebody talks to me about breathing, like I don't have the breathing obsession, doesn't attach itself. It will so I've noticed that just now, like if I think about it, if I start to think into that what if, it will, like I start to control it more. And so it's the number one thing to really focus on and to really hone in all your energy on is eliminating that fear that if you think, eliminating that, like, okay, like if somebody talks to me about breathing, this obsession is gonna attach itself to me, or I'm gonna start to think about that. And so and like I said earlier, those high level mindsets that are subtle, it's really these subtle things matter so much and really help enable you to have the mindfulness, to have the meditation and all the other mindfulness and other types of mindsets that are needed to reach work better, but those prerequisites have got to be taken care of first. And so I'm trying to find a better way to communicate how to get there. But really, what Matthew said is huge. And so at this point, I believe what helped me gain the mindset to even get better and to even delete the whole, to dissolve that fear in me and to really stop believing in these things, to stop attaching these fears to my awarenesses and to not fear this window that is now there that we see, was God. I really mean it. And I really think that spirituality has helped me so much, because it makes you realize that like your struggles, like the things I've learned in church and the things that I have discovered, and I don't like to use the word religion because it's not about religion. Religion is man-made. It's about love. Love is spirituality. And everyone has a different form of it though, because anything other than love is not what you want to be focusing on spiritually, because everybody knows that there's that other side of spirituality that's like going to be destroyed one day. But just if you believe in that, because if you believe in the light, you've got to believe in the dark. So the whole point is love, because it's very black and white. And so that's where we are. That's what we're in. That's awesome. Good. Okay. So what I've realized is that God works with your struggles, and I really feel this clearly, is absolutely the most powerful vibration, like the most powerful thing ever in the whole wide world. So, and I'm kind of jumping back and forth right now, so I'm sorry if you get confused, but to answer this chat, so when I see the word, and that the more you expose yourself with a proper mindset to these things, to breathing, to when you hear the word breathing, I'm just still trying to pronounce your name correctly. It's right up here. Anshnul. Okay. I'm sorry if it's still wrong. So it will go away. Yes, it will go away, but not if we do not do the work within us to have a better mindset, like a one that is truthful and one that truly is not sitting in the pity of self-doubt and not sitting in self-loathing of any type or of being down or negative in any way. We have to be super careful, and we have to hone in as much as we can on being positive from within, even if we think it's stupid, even if we don't believe in the positivity yet. It will still help us to not react so, like, with such uncomfortableness or such irrationality when somebody says breathing or when he says blinking or whatever. We will eventually reach a point where those words go right through, don't mean anything to us anymore. They just are like, okay, like, he just goes. And so that is absolutely, definitely a point that you will get to. And I know, and I really, though, I want to talk one-on-one with you for sure more, because I know that everyone's struggle is different and everyone's struggling to a different degree. And does not mean, though, it really does not mean that you're not going to get there. It just might be a little bit different. Yes, Gustavo, I do. Yeah, I know what you mean there about the dreams. So there's something that I replied to somebody a bit ago that I wish I could reference right now. It's about being crazy. So, like, like thinking that you're going crazy, and it's just not the same. Let me read this again. So, by the very nature of the mechanisms of somatic obsessions, or OCD in general, or pure somatic, doesn't matter. This subtype of OCD really can be terrifying, and we know this. The sensation of hearing, or rather than thinking your thoughts, the sensation of basically second guessing your own brain and feeling afraid of your thoughts can make a person think that they're going crazy. But that could not be further from the truth. It's not true. You've got to be able to recognize that when you have a thought that comes at you after going through some of your other symptoms, perhaps, you're going, a thought that could come in, you're getting schizophrenia, you're going crazy, oh my God, something's going to get worse. We've got to immediately recognize, like, hey, I see right through that. I know that that's an OCD thought in of itself is a lie and another manifestation of fear, because all of this is a manifestation of fear that we don't even know we really had, but it's there, and it's not always going to be a fear, because it's going to turn into an understanding and a strength eventually in you. And that's what's happened for me. And so I know it can for you guys. And I even have schizophrenia in my family. And my mom's sister, 20 years ago, like, I remember when I was young, I didn't really know what it was about and stuff, but I remember my parents, like, having to go find my aunt on the street because she was, like, running away from things that weren't there. And so that is severe. That is so sad. She's doing so much better now, though. She's like, you couldn't even tell she has schizophrenia. She's completely better. So that's another beacon of hope for you right there. But on top of all of that, she's my blood aunt, my mom's sister. It's, I was in my early 20s when I was going through this. That's when schizophrenia is supposed to onset. And I was at that point with my thoughts and with this whole thing where I legit was very fearful of that. I legitimately was like, oh my gosh, like, what if I do have something worse and I'm going to be in the ward, blah, 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 blah. And I never once believed it, though. I was like, absolutely not. No, not me. And every time that I felt like something worse was coming, I knew that it was an OCD thought that was trying to mask itself as something else. And that is what our brain is good at doing with an OCD wired brain, temporarily, not permanently. It does that. It just can seem so insidious, but it's not. It's ego dystonic, and ego dystonic can seem so insidious, but it's really just the opposite of the truth. And that's how it works too, is like, it's like everything is fine until you remember it again. But eventually you'll be at that point where you're able to talk about it and you're able to remember it and sit there and just be like, look at it from a distance and know that it's not yours anymore. But it was, and it still could be, but I don't. That's true, 100%. That's one thing I don't really know a lot about, but all I know is that we don't have that. And so I don't want anyone to worry about that. And like I said, that when we hear, our thoughts just seem louder. We're just more aware of them. If we had that, we would be listening. We would literally be believing. We would be believing in these, and we would literally be like, it would be much different than the state of minds we're in right now. And so I kind of trailed off now. If Matthew, you're still here, I'm going to, yeah, you are. I want to continue to talk about God, and I can, and that's another thing is with crying. You asked if I can't cry anymore. I always was a very tough crier. I never cried. I didn't cry at my grandma's funeral. I didn't cry anywhere. Like, I just couldn't cry unless it was something stupid, like that caused me disappointment. Like, I always felt so narcissistic when I'd cry, because it would always be something only that it would affect me, and it would be something stupid like frustration, like, or a disappointment, then I'd cry. And I'm like, that is so bogus. Like, why do I just cry if it has something to do with me? It's like, really? I never like persecuted myself for that. I just was like, okay, like, I guess that's just how I am. But when I went through all of this, it really, I think a lot of you guys either feel this way or are going to, is I felt like there was just a completely different part of life that I had that was lacking in me or around me in my life somehow. There was something missing from my life, and like, I didn't know what it was. I always knew that there was something more to this life than meets the eye. But I just didn't know where I stood on that path, or I stood in context to all of these other ideas and wonders, and like, if the path I was on was right, how I was doing, where I was headed. And my belief is that everything really does happen for a reason, and our sufferings are not in vain. Our sufferings are not meaningless. I think that they are truly a spiritual hardship that we have to go through to push us onto the correct path. Well, welcome to the live. Carrie. We do know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to finish on with the spirituality. And so what has really, it is just completely changed my outlook on not only life, but with mental illness, and with going through this OCD and everything, all these adversities that we face in life. I really think, I know are meant to help us to basically to force us to grow, because these things aren't really our choice to go through. We don't have a choice but to go through them, and to reach the other side, and to be uplifted, and to completely be delivered out on that other end. And that is where we are going to get. It might take a long time for some, but it's not going to never happen. It will. It's just the time frame is different for everybody, I think. And so, and I'm not like trying to push my beliefs off on you guys or anything, but personally, I really believe that spirituality helps me to not sit with these symptoms, knowing, and basically just being like, it gives me hope. It gives me a tangible way of knowing that what I'm going through is helping me somehow. And God never has people go through things for absolutely no reason, just to suffer. And so that, and I don't feel alone as much anymore. I don't feel as though I am just completely on my own and that I better figure this out, or I'm just gonna like fade away as some organism that just had a really shitty hand played to him. And so there is so much more depth to life when you become spiritual. And I really believe that it's helped me with this, with OCD. It's just giving, God is really, it's just everything that I've learned, everything that I felt has given me a true motivation, and also just like the small little tools to use when you're going through something. I'm just trying to think of a better way to put this. It's basically to know that you are never alone, and that that you are always being guided, and that there is something waiting for us on the other side that is just so incredibly beautiful. And that while we're here, our time is limited, and we have to really not sit around. We can't just be like, okay, like this is what I'm going through. I hope it gets better, but I'm not really going to try that hard, and I give up. Like, it really has made me realize the compassion for others, and it's helped me to find the true power of love, and love in every single one of its forms. Because what we're going through could be love. It probably is, and it could be love. And I believe that God has this goal, and I know that. I mean, it's whether or not you believe in the Bible is totally, that's on you. I don't know, but it says right in there that our sufferings are meant to evolve us. Like, we're going through an evolution, like a butterfly and whatnot. But there's so much more to it. That, I love it. I love what you just said, Gustavo. Absolutely. That same thing, man. It's, so you said, I thought the same thing, didn't know where my life was going. Then going through this helped give me a direction. I feel blessed now, because we are blessed, seriously. Absolutely. Okay, I'm just reading all the comments. So basically both of your comments kind of entail the essence of time, and how how our relationship with this going across time. So the longer we go through this, typically the pattern is things will diminish on their own, because eventually, even if you don't get these things down properly, even if you don't know what I'm talking about, and it just doesn't seem to be sticking for you, and it doesn't seem to be clicking up here for you, that could be. And then unfortunately, that's the case a lot of the time. But it's, the beauty is that whether or not somebody else's direction, whether or not somebody else's portrayal of what helps them helps you, time will either way. And so it went down for you. It went down 40%. That's, any percent, 1% is good. So that's cool. I'm so glad to hear that. And then, so how did you limit your doubt and fear? I think I'm better, but it's up and down. So let's see all the bubbles. Wow, these are intense. So this is a huge thing. So I'll get to your question in a second. So yeah, basically with time is a huge thing on this, and clearly, but the goal is to not be going through something that time is not, it's not, I'm just like trying to gather my thoughts really quick. It's, the goal is to not be going through this without seeing growth, without seeing habituation. And habituation is the decrease in anxiety, the decrease in that irrational fear. That is like what we need to open up. It's like the drain on the spigot. Okay, all of it's leaving us now. Goodbye. And over time it will happen, but that amount of time that needs to pass for that to occur doesn't need to be years and years and years. It can be shorter, and it should be shorter. It shouldn't, we don't have to suffer with this forever, or for even for a couple years is still too long. Like, and that's the, I was able to do that, and not everybody is, clearly everybody has a different level of ability with that, but everybody has it though. Nobody has the inability to do that. That's the thing. Everybody's ability is at a varying degree. So everyone's time is going to be a little bit different, and that's something just to accept. And so acceptance is huge. And the more we resist and the more we fight or flight, we're going to be fighting this always, because there's nothing to flee from. Because like I said, everything's ego-dystonic, so it's the opposite of what we really are. Okay. And that is, so to answer, how do I eliminate my doubt and fear? So basically, I was able to eliminate my doubt and fear with, spirituality also really, really helped me with this, because I truly know, I truly knew that we are defined by God. We are defined as being, basically good. We're defined as being good people. Like I know that I'm a good person. I knew that I was meant for better things. And every time that I would doubt that, every time that I felt like, damn, like, maybe these thoughts are true, or like, wow, like whatever your doubt may look like, I always knew that it doesn't matter what your doubt looks like. As long as your doubt is trying to pull you back into this, is trying to hinder your progress, being like, nope, oh, I feel better. It's like, oh, just kidding, I don't know if that's real. Why are we choosing the other side, though? You got to realize that your doubt makes a choice. Your doubt is either choosing to give yourself the benefit of the doubt or not. So for me, I had like a moment in my head, a light bulb that went off, and I'm like, damn, the power of choice is so incredibly powerful. And I realized that if we stay in a state of limbo where we just are unsure, where we're being kind of like a pushover, I guess, for lack of better terms, or where we're just on the fence about things, the more easily we're going to be on this fence, and that our doubt is going to go, it's going to push us back into this OCD pit. And instead, though, if we are really making a choice, if we're choosing whether or not that doubt is there, because our choice can be sovereign, meaning it does not rely on whether or not we have doubt. We can still make a choice even if it's completely false. So basically, I'll get to that in a second. What I find really helps me in eliminating my fear and doubt is by taking a stance and not backing down from what I want my choice to be. And so if I continually hold that in me, no matter how many times I doubt, no matter how many times that doubt is still there, eventually that doubt will lose and dissolve away. And so it's a process. It's an everyday getting yourself up, making your choice. Every day I say, like, today is going to be a wonderful day. I'm going to be free. My mind's going to be free. My heart's going to be free. My soul is going to be free. My body is going to be free. And then I say, I am going to do the things that I love. I'm going to think outwardly. I'm going to be talking to people. I'm not going to be worrying about myself. I give myself like 1 second to know that I'm okay. I know I'm good. I know that there is nothing wrong with me. And no matter how many times the OCD tries to get my attention to think back to me, I'm going to choose not to. I'm going to choose to observe it, accept it, and not resist it, but not choose into it, not feed into it, because that's still our choice. And that really, really, really helps me with getting rid of that doubt. Because for so long, like that doubt, it almost feels like that doubt's like in here. It's like gives you that anxiety that's like deep in you, that you up here we can say, oh, yep, that's true. All of this is bull and I'm going to be okay. But then there's that doubt feeling that's like down here that's like, really though, And so we have to be strong against that. And I think actively and mindfully choosing to give yourself the benefit of the doubt and actively and with energy choosing, hey, I know what is right here, and I'm not going to sit here and succumb to this hamster wheel anymore. And that is really, really what helped me in my doubt. And I realized that that doubt was never real, ever, from, you know, whatever, from the beginning. Any doubt I ever had was not real. Why do I feel like I have no compulsions? Yeah, people are very toxic, literally. Um, we've got to protect our energy majorly and stand together, and to not realize that nobody is able to define us, and that anybody who is toxic is having their own internal struggle, and that's on them. So why do I feel like I have no compulsions? That's a good one. So with this disorder, it's not like this OCD is not compulsions that you can see. They're compulsions that are subtle. They're compulsions that are hard to find. And that, hold on, my bracelet went into, interesting. I'm actually gonna make a cup of coffee because I'm getting tired. It's like in 80 minutes, wow. I'm still gonna stay on for a little bit longer, don't worry. So the obsession, meaning the compulsion, so like the rituals, right? The things that we really want to do in response to these thoughts and all sorts of different stuff. I'm just like playing around. To be honest with you, they are so hard to see. Like they are going to be, it took me a long time to realize what I was doing, because it might not seem like you are like doing, let's see, I'm just going to show you guys my carrot, but it can seem like you aren't doing anything. You know, it can really, really seem like you don't have compulsions, because normally when you have OCD, you're doing this. No, I can't like see. It's like the left and right. You know, you're normally like, okay, this has to be, okay, this, and this, and this, and that. You know, that's not the OCD we're dealing with here. It's OCD that those little things, those little organizing the cups, whatever it may be, this is not the cup I want. It is more like a thought, a response, a mindset, of cognitive behavior that we do in response to our OCD thoughts, in response to the fear, in response to the awarenesses that we don't know that we're really doing, that take a decent amount of time to recognize, to gain a grip on, and to consistently like be able to see this ourselves doing down the road. But we can, and we eventually will, because it's so critical to realize. And for example, like back when I was going through the thick of what I would do is, when I had my breathing OCD, I would consistently control my breathing. I would always be taking a deep breath when I didn't need to. Like I always was like, okay, I need to be taking like a deeper breath or something. Like I always would end up thinking that I felt like I didn't get a full breath. Like I would somehow feel like the breathing that I was doing was not good enough, or something was wrong with my breathing in any way, which is not true. And so I would end up being like, taking off breaths that are just not like ones that are in my normal rhythm. And so that was hard to recognize, though, because it can feel good, it can feel normal, but it's not, and it can mask itself as a normal breathing. But really, that is just perpetuating the disorder, because then our brain is going to think back to our breathing. I'm glad that I can help. Honestly, hey, that's why I want to go live, because it's just like, I just can't stand knowing that there are people out there who are like alone, feeling like they're alone in this. No, you're not alone. We're all in here. We're all here together, and the world is not that dark of a place. Let's be honest. I will help light it up for you because there's enough darkness going around up in here anyways. We are beings of light, and we will be fully that. We are, but we're going to fully feel that way one day. Trust me. Because if I'm just telling you, you're going to know what I mean one day. But, so that is why you probably don't think you have any compulsions, is because they are all internal. And they're subtle, they're easy to miss, and it's very simple to think that you're not like doing them when you are. And it's low key keeping the obsessions around. It's like really low key, like keeping the disorder hanging on to you. And so being able to recognize them and not fear them, and figuring out a way, like basically once we recognize and not fear them, we're able to allow ourselves to stop doing them. And that is the first step to basically working with exposure. So trying an exposure therapy moment can only happen if we don't do a ritual. And that's another, somebody asked earlier about why exposure therapy might not be working, is if we are creating exposure, if we are using exposure therapy with a ritual or with a compulsion, that will also hinder its ability to help, because we're turning it into something it shouldn't be. We're applying elements of the OCD. We're still basically counteracting it, like neutralizing its benefit with, it's like something that's supposed to stop and something that's causing OCD. So it's like doing nothing. So if we are gonna, that's majorly important. So basically anything, what I tell people is that anything that you do in your mind that is a theme, anything that you do consistently that helps you feel better, anything that you do that you think is working for you but clearly isn't, like it might, but what if it probably just doesn't make sense, stop doing those things, because that is the compulsion, that is the mind, that is like the reason for these things to just be so consistent in us, is because it's like our mind likes these rituals, but so does the OCD. That's why it feels good, because our OCD wants to be satisfied. And like, we can't though, we cannot choose the OCD, we cannot choose feeding into it, because it's basically like we're fueling it, man. We are fueling it, but we just don't know it. And it's not a reason to fear. It's not a reason to be like, oh, I'm crazy. No, it's a reason to wake up and learn. It's a reason to every day hone in and learn. Okay, computer is dead. And eventually, not even eventually, like soon you will. And it's literally amazing once you realize, like, okay, like I really was fueling this for so long. And it's like there is no dark force, there's no energy, there's nothing in you that is causing this other than ourself. And so there's nothing to fear then because of that. But there's everything to learn and to relearn and to be mindful about for the rest of our life. You know what I mean? So I see a therapist sometimes, yeah. I have a psychiatrist who really helped me a lot. It wasn't like a super amazing like mental like health place. Like it was just with the hospital. It wasn't anything special, but it doesn't need to be, clearly. You don't need to see like a super fancy OCD doctor for this. I guess it could help, but it's not, I don't believe that that's absolutely necessary. So I saw a psychiatrist, and he helped me learn what these thoughts were. And he like took so much weight off my shoulders. Once I found out what ego dystonic meant, I immediately knew, like, yep, that's what I'm going through. I was like, that is it. But there was still a part of me that doubted it, though. Like, I know how that goes. There really is still a part of me that was like, are these really like that crazy word, ego dystonic? Like, what does that even mean, One sec. Lots of talking. Good old Lake Superior water. Best drinking water in the whole nation. Telling you. Duluth, Minnesota. There, I sounded a Canadian kind of right there. So it is. When he told me that, I was like, damn, like, thank you so much, and you're right, like, these are. But it took me at least a year to, like, really get a grip on that concept. And I really would encourage you guys to Google egotostonic out and to redo some of that research. And I can do that too. And just take everything you read with a grain of salt on Google. I always like to tell people that, because there's going to be things that might wig you out, but it's just, anytime that happens, it's probably the OCD still. All right. So I don't see him regularly. I don't need to, honestly, and I would if I had to, for sure. But I see him for a med check every 8 months, maybe like once a year if I'm lucky, like if it's a really good time. So let's see. Hey, sure. Where are you in the world? You can, Sam? Come on, Sam. What are you doing? He's so big. He's the biggest cat ever. He's not that mean, but he's like kind of mean. He's big though. He's kind of obese, like, I'll admit. But I'm like, hey, it would be super cool to fly out to a beautiful place and to like have like a little mini vacation with everybody and have like an OCD retreat. Like a completely free, you know, more like a recovery retreat. Like, it would just be so cool to like actually practice these things with you guys in person. Where is he? Yeah, he's quite the character. Ooh, way too sweet. Do you guys like coffee? Montreal. Is that what this is? I don't even know. Well, it's Caribou. Oh, that's where you're from. Hell yeah. So you know you are aware of the cold. Good. So you know what it's like. We're about to have like the coldest weather in 20 years. Damn, Toronto, hey, that's what's up. Honestly, guys, I am so ready to get out of the United States. I do not want to be in this country anymore, and I want to live in Canada. Like, I live in Duluth. It's like it's probably 3 hours from Thunder Bay, you know? So it's like not that far away from the Canada border. I've actually never been to Canada. I still have never stepped foot in the country. I don't know why. And I don't live alone, actually. I live at home still because I take care of my dad. He's going through he has like on dialysis and stuff. So he is needing care, and I love it though. I am very blessed to have a super close relationship with my parents, and like I like to live at home. It saves money, but eventually I want to get out of here. Let's be honest. Same tent in Toronto. Hey, you know, hey, the Six. I like Drake a lot, so I like Toronto. Yeah, and this is another thing is like talking about other things is important too, you know, like just having conversations with people that's not just about mental health. But clearly that's why we're here, and so that's good. And I'm still able to answer any questions. But this will be recorded. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be a long ass live that will save on my channel. I don't see why it would disappear. So you guys can re-reference what I said if you before you got on here. But yeah, I want to go there. Yeah, we're having the coldest weather in 20 years. It's going to be like 57 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. So that's like extreme. For Minnesota, yeah. You don't really get that. But we definitely are. Trust me. Well, that's awesome. I actually had some Brazilian friends who spoke some beautiful Portuguese, and she still does, and she's made the best Brazilian food ever. Like I literally, that is my cuisine. So good. I like Chinese and I like Brazilian and I like Italian, I guess. Um, but hey, you know what? It's okay. Our president sucks horribly too, if you haven't noticed. Don't even get me started on that. To me, it's a moot point talking about politics nowadays. I think it is so, there is nothing that we can do. I truly believe the only person that can help the world is God. I don't think that a president or a government can do much. Like, and I think that whatever does come, I think there is going to be corruption or something wrong with every sitting power in this world. I think there's always, and this has proven it true, right? Like everybody can't agree. Nobody can agree. So you know what? We just need God then. That's what I gotta say. Do you want to go out? You really want to go outside? It's like horribly cold out. Go. He's like, we'll go out there for 2 seconds and come back in. Yeah, are you talking about Trump? I don't even ever want to say his name. I don't know. It's horrible. It's egregious, man. Egregious is my favorite word because it means shockingly and severely bad. I'm like, that's him. Well, the government isn't shut down anymore, so that's good. Apparently that went back into effect. Like, the government isn't shut down now after like a month. Forever. Yeah, no, it's like the biggest scandal in the world. Like, you know, and I went to Europe for 18 days in 2017 because I haven't ever really traveled abroad. So that was when I was in limbo, kind of still going through my OCD, and I was better, way, way better, but I was still not fully, fully better. And I got fired from my job because I was in IT, information technology, and that's not for me at all. Like, I'm way more expressive than that. And so I've used some of those skills to actually do this instead and to create things that are not just like a database. So, what's my favorite song ever? That's an extremely hard question. um, you know, I think it would be a classic song. Just hold on here. I just don't know how, I don't think I can exit this. Yeah, it goes away. Okay, I'm gonna look through my iTunes really quick. I think that depending on the time that the song was made, like, so what's my favorite song all time? It would have to be a new song and then an older song. There would have to be in two categories, like one that's newer and one that's older. Yeah, my iTunes is crazy. Here. This is currently my playlist. I really like lo-fi right now. There's so much. I don't know. In general, I would probably end up being a song from Hillsong because I love worship music. And I'd say my favorite song of all time is probably Oceans by Hillsong United, or yeah, hell yeah, old. And the Beatles, like, I really love Penny Lane by the Beatles, so good. I really love the Fleetwood Mac, super good. And there's just so much music. That's like the hardest question ever. Like, I really love Hillsong though, and Lauren Daigle, and yeah, when it comes, and some Drake songs like "From Time" by Drake. I love that song. That's probably one of my all-time favorites. Let's see. This is it. Like, I remember when I was back in 2013 when this came out, and I listened to it every single night on the way home from my friends who lived like a mile away from me. Hey, great. I needed some feedback. I will, for sure, because I wasn't sure about it, I wasn't sure of doing a live. Man, my hair is scary looking right I wasn't sure if doing a live was gonna like be awkward or like be anything that people would actually want to watch. But I've had you guys actually have been on here for with me almost the whole time, so that's really cool. I just don't want to bore you guys and just talk about like things that are like, you know, things that you already know or whatever. But anything that we can talk about that is constructive with this is always worth it. And Sadia really helped me to understand that today. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, anything is better than nothing. So that's for sure. I do want to do more, definitely. And I'm really am like trying to like gain more time for this because I really feel like there is a lot of potential for this channel. I think that there's so much more that we can make out of it, and I want to really help more people and spread more of this message. And I really want to do it full time and get a video out every week, because I think I'm almost at like 500 subscribers, which I didn't even expect to be at all. That's kind of a lot for YouTube. I feel like, that's not much for Instagram, but it's different on YouTube. So it's just humbled me so much, because I know, and like I said, I never had a purpose before. And so I really believe that I got over this to help others, and I'm not going to stray from that, because, and that's how I know that we become stronger, we become more driven, and we become more refined after going through something like this. It's so true. We really, really do. And it's just, you just have to see it for yourself. You just have to go for it. It's not, don't doubt it. And even if you do doubt it, just keep diving head first into that light and into that truth and beauty always, because I've never felt better, knowing that I like have a mission, I guess. So super, it is just amazing. So I'm definitely going to make more. What are some video topics that you guys want to see sooner than later? Because my capacity right now with work, I work like 60 hours a week. So I just have to communicate that it's probably going to be like a video a month for now. Realistic. I don't want to make any more promises than I can, but eventually I want to do at least 2 a month, maybe 3. That'd be so good. And so the next one I have coming, I really want to talk about spirituality and get really into how basically God found me and I found him, and how I really have been so helped with this situation immensely, and how having any spiritual power, any higher power at all, helps with this so much. It's like you are like, God will strengthen you no matter what. So, hey dude, I am wonderful. How are you doing? Welcome to the live. I'm about to be done, but not for a little bit longer. So, well, I like to think of it as a joint effort. Let's just say that. But either way, I know that being having a form of spirituality in this it just changes the game, man. It just changes the atmosphere the essence of life, and like the things that you wake up to is just different. It just helps so much to know that we're not alone. And even when we are alone, technically we're not. There's just so much to think about, because no matter how ugly things are, no matter how ugly things may look on the surface, there is a treasure in jars of clay, just like it says in Corinthians, like in the Bible. I learned about this, like that things beautiful tend to be wrapped in jars of clay. That the treasure is hidden. So things look so shitty now, and things can be so tough now, but we must not lose heart. I'm telling you, we absolutely cannot. There's no reason to. The only reason is basically being tricked to make the wrong choice. I really do believe in the enemy of the world as well, and so that's just my belief. I believe that there is a devil and a God, And I think that there are reasons that we end up believing in these such negative things and feeling so hopeless is that's because that's the way he wants us to feel. And it's just, the beauty is that we do not have to choose that, and we are not going to choose that, and that we will choose life and goodness and truth always, because it's not about being right, it's not about being perfect, it's not about being straight, you can't be gay type of things, like whatever. It's not about that at all. And that's what the enemy wants you to think, is that Christianity, anything like God, spirituality, it's all a bunch of bullshit. He does not even want you to take one step forward towards that. And the moment you do, you're already winning. The moment you do, you're already beating him. You are already having him way below your feet. And let me tell you this, is that you will feel that, and you will feel that empowerment. And I want everybody to have it. Because doubt is not something that we should sit with our whole life and grapple with forever and ever. We have got to feel a little bit crazy for a little bit, and not like crazy like, oh no, I'm worrying that I'm going crazy, but the more with more zeal, like we have to be like kind of like a little more bold, like bold, and with more of an inner drive that doesn't fade away, and even if it feels unnatural. Thank you too. I hope you have a good night. Yeah, it's 10:18 here. I'll be going soon. Have a good night. Thanks for coming. I'm hoping to do, you know what, I can probably do these lives more often than I can make an actual video, like to edit up and post. Yeah, I do, for sure. I recognize your username. I hope everything is going well and you're feeling good. It's 2019 now. So, and if you have any other questions for me, quick, because I'm going to probably be logging off here in like 10 minutes, probably, because your boys got to work tomorrow, of course. Every time. I'll have Tuesday off, though. Wow. A day. Major. And it's not going to be easy. I live in Duluth, Minnesota, and I live at home for now. Hell yeah. Well, I hope it's a good steak. Don't overcook it. So. But to answer your question, I live in Duluth, Minnesota, and it's on the westernmost tip of Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake in the world, I believe. And yeah, United States. Serbia, yeah, I do. I don't know much about it, but I do know that it's a country, and it is I actually don't know what part of the world it's in. Yeah, it's in Western Europe, right? Sort of. I'm just like, I'm probably wrong. I'm like looking it up now. Yeah, it is. I love learning about the world, and I love to know people that aren't from here, because I think that they're so unique and different and amazing, because yeah. I'm technically Italian, so it's a little bit different. Oh, it's majorly different. Yeah, I'm looking it up now. So what part are you from? I can't even read it, I don't know. This is awesome. I love to learn about new places, I really do, so that's awesome. I love it. What type of weather, like what season is it in there? And what time is it there, I wonder? I don't know. I think it's so beautiful. Like, because the closest I've been to Serbia is when I went to Europe in 2018. Have a good night, dude. You too. For sure. I'll be making more videos. Good to see you too. I'll be having more content up in a couple weeks. I'm praying that I come through with that. I just need the time. I just need work to stop making me so overworked, man. Being a mailman is like not a joke. I love it. That is so amazing. I would love to visit there sometime. -6, lots of snow. Yeah, it's crazy here too. We are like, then you gotta go to bed. It's 10:22 p.m. here. Yeah, I stay up that late too sometimes, but then I sleep all day the next day. Like if I'm up that late, extreme. I'll sleep all day. So when I went to... Oh, are you up early? You slept all night? So when I went to Europe, I went to... I'm just trying to find like the map. I went with this group called EF Ultimate Break, and they used to be called EF College Break, but I love them. EF is amazing. They really do a great job. I recommend them totally, like recommend. And I flew to... I am not a... So I'm not from Italy, but I am... Murdica is my last name, so we are Italian, and I'm probably a 25% Italian, so... but I flew in, so these are the countries that I've been to in Europe. I've been to Amsterdam. We flew in here, I went there. Then we drove to Brussels. I got to see Brussels. I got to go to Paris then. We drove to Paris. This was super cool. Then we flew to Florence. Got to go to Florence. That was incredible. And then we flew to Rome after that. This is like an 18-day trip. And then I got to see Pompeii after that. And then went to Sorrento and Capri. Amazing. This was in 2017 when I went. This is the most beautiful area in the world, right here. So beautiful. And my parents, actually my great-grandma are the immigrants. My dad and my mom were born here, but their parents, and my grandma and my grandpa immigrated. So after this, we went to Greece, and I went to Athens. And it was unbelievable. And I think we got to go to an island. I'm not sure. Let's see. And you know, when I went, Europe is definitely not like the US, to be honest. It's way better. The US is a lot more commercialized and dull, I think, a little bit, depending on where you go. And I loved Europe. Oh, I absolutely did. I grew so much, and I felt my comfort zone like expanding. And the people, there's so much more craft and care and quality in Europe, and the food and everything is just so much more rich, and there's just so much more class. And it just felt like people had more integrity, and there was more... Yeah, I agree. And America, people are just so hostile, and like, I don't know, I don't like it. And there's just all about money and capitalism here, and ads, and I don't get, it's just so extreme, like, you know. But everywhere has that. The one things I did notice in Europe is there wasn't a lot of... You had to pay to go to the bathroom a lot. I did not go to Russia. No, I've never been there yet. I went home after Athens. But I remember the things I noticed in Europe for sure is the driving is way more extreme. The driving is like crazy. I mean, I had not been to Serbia, so I don't know what that's like there, but Paris was absolutely nuts for driving. I will keep that on my list. So yeah, and then there's not a lot of cold water, I noticed. Like it's like whenever I went to the restaurant, you had to specifically ask for ice, and then they'd either have it or they wouldn't. And it was always like warm water or table whatever water. I want to, actually. I think Croatia would be a beautiful place, and Bosnia would be gorgeous to see too. And I think I also want to try going to like uh Latvia and Estonia and Lithuania. That'd be beautiful. I know that that is a gorgeous area. But honestly, the things that I expected to be different were different. And you had to have like a euro to go to the bathroom. Nice. And so I remember I had to pay to go to the bathroom like a lot and stuff. But that's just like, that's just a European thing, I guess. And I know at everything. So when I went to Amsterdam, so I've never been to New York City, but when I went to Amsterdam, it was like being in New York City, but it was like a cultural melting pot, way more than New York City would ever be, of the whole entire world, of the whole world. Like every single person, every type, every walk of life was in Amsterdam. It was just amazing, and so was the weed. Huh. But so for Minneapolis, do you want to see where that is? This is fun. This is where I live. This is it. There's me. This is Minneapolis. This is Minnesota. And that's the United States. And then this is the Earth. And this is space. Just kidding. Yeah, so we're not that far away from Canada. And then I'm going to creep on Winnipeg. Right there. Sadia, where are you? And then, yeah, Canada's so much better. Yep, Minnesota is in the center of the country, the north central. So we're right here. But this lake is gigantic. It's amazing. It's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful lake. There we go. It really is this doesn't do justice. Let's just say that. Okay, sounds good. Montreal, where is that? Over here? Believe Montreal. Nope, that's Vancouver. I know Montreal is... So we're the land of 10,000 lakes. There's so many different lakes in Minnesota. And this is the biggest one, clearly. And yeah. Are you a photographer? Let's see. Okay, yeah. Hey, if you take pictures of me, I will pay you. So postman. I work for the post office. I deliver mail and packages for now. Not forever. You know what I mean? That's not my dream job or my goal, but it pays very well. Oh, thank you for spamming it. I need more likes. I need more engagement. Just go ahead and do that whenever you want. Very good, yeah. Good salary. Very, very heavy work, though. Lots and lots of hours. So this is Montreal. I just could not figure out where Montreal is. So it's more north than Canada. Or more north than Toronto. That's cool. It still won't let me see. I'd say the salary, if for when you work overtime, is a little over 50 grand a year. Yeah. 50 grand a year. But I don't know where any of that money went. I don't have anything to show for it because I have a lot of debt and I'm paying off my debt. Just don't get credit cards. Don't do it much. No, it's not a good idea because you end up thinking that you have more money than you do, and then you end up having more debt than you do. Well, so for rent, month and bills is... So rent is kind of out of control over here. It's ridiculously expensive. If you want to get a nice place, just rent alone is $1,000, not including food, other bills, insurance, anything else, your cell phone bill, your internet, whatever. So I'd say to live like comfortably in the United States in a nice place, you need at least $2,000 a month just to go out to things that you like, maybe, you know, that you need. But maybe if you could live within your means and find a cheaper place and really hunker down, and you could probably get all your expenses covered for $1,000 if you could find a $500 a month rent. You're welcome. But any place that you're paying $500 a month for, you're going to have a ton of roommates, or it's going to be rinky-dinky raggedy. So I'm not trying to do that. That's why I'm still at home, because I don't want to move to a place I don't enjoy. I'd rather just be here saving money for now. Is that like every day or every week? Is that like $200 a day? Nice. That sounds way cheaper. But I think I am going to wrap this up because I am very tired right now. And my dad is asking me to come and help him. But this was super fun, and I'm glad that we did this. So, if anybody has any questions, or if there wasn't something that you wanted to, like if there's something that I missed, or if you're confused about, or if we didn't get to anything, whatever that may be, just drop a comment, send me a message, and I will personally reply to you later on. And my Facebook page is @Murdica Just feel free to send me a message on there. Same with Instagram, and you're welcome for the info. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great night. I am going to get some work done, and I just remember what I said, and I mean it. Everything is going to be like